secret smile, except this time, I think that maybe I understand what it is. Possibility sparks and skitters between us. He glances down at my mouth, his breath puffs against my lips. Once, when I was a child, the ground trembled beneath my feet. They said that it was the earth shifting, settling. But in doing so, it threw up a massive wave. I remember standing in the lighthouse and seeing it coming. I remember the compression of air before it hit, the way everything stilled and pulled back for just a breath and held. That's how it feels when Catcher moves toward me. The compression of air between us, the still pause, and then his lips brushing against mine. I feel their heat first, feel the way his mouth pauses over mine before pressing in again. I place a hand over his on the bar, and he twines his fingers in mine. It's as if everything in my life has led me to this moment, that this is what I've been waiting for. All the years growing up with Catcher, the times he chased me around the twisted streets of town playing tag, the times he'd laugh as Sarah and I would compose complex plays and act them out for him, the times he would linger just a little longer when I was around. As if this entire summer we've been spinning around each other, coming closer and closer to some inevitable spark that's just ignited. As if this is everything that was meant to be. I press against him, and he presses back. I'm so wrapped up in my first kiss, and the excitement of being with Catcher, that initially I don't hear the tumbling moan through the night, ripping us apart. Zombies appear. Tearing around the corner of one of the rides, the breaker sprints into the middle of the park, a girl, no older than us, looking almost normal, except for the moaning, her mouth open, teeth bared, hands clawing at the night. I clamp my hands over my mouth, terrified to move, terrified to draw her attention. My fingers dig into my cheeks and screams threaten to pour out, choking me. Only one thought glares in my mind: this can't be happening. The breaker veers toward the others, towards Sierra standing at the base of the coaster, and then Catcher moves in a blur. The moonlight reaches only so far, leaving the edges around us soft and faded. He's a shadow, moving to another shadow. The flashes of his pale skin echo the gleam of the breaker's teeth. I jump from the carousel, and am grabbing for my knife when I hear a high-pitched scream. I don't want to look up, but I do. I don't want to see, but I can't help it. The breaker crashes into the group at the base of the coaster. They scatter, but she grabs a girl, a tall, skinny girl, and when she spins into the moonlight, I recognize Mellie. My throat stings, my eyes cloud with tears, and my stomach twists in terror, but still I see it. The breaker grasping at Mellie's hair and yanking her to the ground, sinking her teeth into the flesh of Mellie's forearm and tearing a spray of blood. But that's all that matters. The bite will infect Mellie. The bites always infect, and the infected always turn. Mellie's dead already. Everyone else scatters and screams. The chaos of human flesh causes the breaker to drop Mellie, the urge to infect more important than lingering over a fresh kill. Mellie's mouth moves in a whimper. When she holds her hand to the wound, blood spills through her fingers. She shakes and sobs and rocks. I understand now how the breakers could keep the living from reclaiming the world, but none of us had ever seen one. None of us had ever truly understand them. It's one thing to be told something in the safety of classroom, and another to see it in the flesh. We're too used to the mudo that wash up on the shores, slow and sluggish and waterlogged. We were taught growing up how to defend against those, but this girl, she's too fast. A blink and she's already pulling down another boy. He swings an axe and it lodges in her arm, but it doesn't slow her. Her teeth find his throat before he can dislodge his weapon, and he falls, a stream of blood black in the night. I take a step back, wanting to run away, knowing the safest thing to do is run. But then I see Catcher. He's sprinting not toward the barrier, but toward the breaker. She veers from her next target, racing to meet him. He holds a knife in his hand, a blade that seems too small and useless against her impending onslaught. Something inside me pulls tight and loud like a scream as she draws closer to him. It happens too fast. He steps aside at the last minute. She streaks past. He grabs her hair, yanks her head back, his hand against her throat. With a guttural cry, he sinks the blade into the base of her skull, his arms jerking with the effort. It's as if everything stops in the moment his wide eyes meet mine, her sagging body between us. She was already dead, had been dead. She was nothing but want and need and infection. But still I can see something in his face, and I know it's echoed in my own, regret and resignation. She was once a girl. She used to be like us. Her body slips to the ground, and he bends over her, pulling out his knife, placing his hands see it. Like heat lightning on the horizon, a flicker at the edge of my vision that's nothing but movement. It's Melly, crawling to her feet, teeth bared and hands grasping. She's already bled out, died, and returned. I hear another scream that rips down my spine. Catcher twists toward the panicked roof at the base of the coaster, where the infected boy, the one bitten in the throat, jumps to his feet, moans frothing from his mouth. Catcher pushes toward the group, but Melly's faster. I do the only thing I know that will save him, that will buy him time. I shout and yell, pumping my weapon in the night air. It works. Melly turns from Catcher and sprints toward me. I don't even look to see Catcher's reaction. I don't have time to think or give in to the terror pushing against my chest. I plant my feet the way I was taught. I tighten my grip around the handle of my weapon until I remember to loosen my muscles, to relax and wait for her to get within range of my blade. I see every detail in the moonlight as Melly moves closer. Her eyes are still clear, her long brown hair whipping freely around her face, her skin bronzed and smooth, glistening with blood. All I can think about as she runs toward me is the graceful way she danced earlier. All I can think about is how much I wanted to be like her, how maybe we could have been friends, how I could have tried harder to know her, how this isn't what's supposed to happen. She was supposed to be safe. We were all supposed to be safe and happy and have futures to dream about. I want to close my eyes. I want to remember her the way she was, to erase the sight of how now she wants nothing more than to tear the flesh from my bones, to devour me. I want to give in to the terror that eats at me, claws me to the ground. Run, my mind screams. Swing, it shouts. Do something, anything. The darkness of the night crowds around me, closes me into itself, blocks out everything but the sound of Melly's feet beating against the earth, chewing up the distance between us. My head roars. Swing, swing, she's too close, swing. I clench my teeth, trying to keep my arms steady. The moment stretches thin, every strand of Melly's hair floating behind her head, her mouth slowly opening, teeth glimmering. I focus on her neck. I think about my blade slicing through it. I try to wait, try to remember the training. I can't breathe. I'm choking. She's too close. I can't wait. I tighten my arm and slice the knife through the air with the force of my terror and panic. My body twists. The blade slips easily through nothingness, and I realize I've swung too early just as she crashes into me. If I'd waited a moment more, I could have stopped her. Her arms tangle in mine, her head crashing against my chin as I tumble backward, my skull smacking the cracked concrete. I hear the thud before I feel it. I see the movement before I understand it. Melly's mouth, the one that earlier tonight spoke of dreams in the dark city, lowers to me. And then she's gone. The pressure of her body on my chest explodes, and I roll to the side and see it. Catcher. He tumbles across the ground, Melly's teeth gnashing, her arms wrapped around him. She tears at him like a cat fighting drowning. I watch her as her nails drag along his arm, drawing thin lines of blood. If anything, this drives her into a deeper frenzy. I try to push myself to my feet, but I stumble. I reach for my blade, but I can barely tighten my fist around it. I pull my arm back, ready to swing again, but I can't tell where one body begins and the other ends. It's flesh and blood and teeth, breaths and moans. Then there's a crunch, the sound of an old man cracking all his fingers at once. And there's nothing left but Catcher kneeling and panting. His hands still grip Melly's head, her neck broken and body finally motionless. He looks up at me, his arms slipping from her hair and dangling by his sides. Blood pools down his forearm and drips from his fingers. But that's not what I'm staring at. I'm staring at the crescent-shaped wound along the edge of his shoulder. I'm staring at where he was bitten.